Welcome to chapter 33. In this chapter, we are going to have a systematic look at adjectival derivation. But before we get to that, the first grammatical point we have here are indefinite pronouns and adverbs with the prefixes kerek and ketch. So we already had a bunch of indefinite pronouns and adverbs. We've had iktash, we've had Allah, and these kerek and ketch forms that are now completing the picture, they set themselves apart from those other forms that we have in that they express an indifference. You don't care who it is, you don't care what it is, you don't care what kind it is. It is comparable to English forms in ever, whoever, whatever, whenever, wherever. Here you see an overview of the pronominal forms derived using this prefix, and here you see an overview of the adverbial forms derived with this prefix. And it's the same system we've had all over already. You take an interrogative form, question word, stick the prefix to it, and you have your indefinite form. Here you see some usage examples. Another grammatical point before we get to the big one is secondary usage of the possessive suffix second person singular. So we've already looked at the third person singular, expressing things other than possession. In Mari, at least in some varieties of Mari, because there seems to be some strong dialectal distribution in this phenomenon, you can also use the possessive suffix second person singular, and it is used as a determining element of sorts. Like in the fourth example, your son is directing this. Note that you have two possessive suffixes, actually, two possessive suffixes of the second person singular. First, the regular form ich, which can be used in combination with son, and then the regular form et attached to it. So if we have two possessive suffixes, they won't both be marking possession, most likely. So it's kind of like that son of yours, the son that was already salient to the conversation at some point. I'm reactivating a participant that was already in the discourse. Yeah, and it's from that domain that sometimes usages of this possessive suffixes come. That of yours, that. You can especially encounter it in folkloristic texts, in song texts, and such. Specific point that we have is that the possessive suffix second person singular is often attached to infinitives, and then it is used to express an abstract wish, an abstract design. Ich tushko kayashet, literally, you're to go there, but it's not to be read as second person singular. It's mean, to go there, how nice it would be to go there, or so. Just abstract desires, expressed like that. Okay, but that brings us to the juggernaut of the week, adjectival derivation, where we are again going to be meeting a whole bunch of old friends, but we're going to look at them in a systematic fashion. And we have these categories: possessive adjectives, relational adjectives, privative adjectives, purposive adjectives, approximative adjectives. And we'll look at them one by one again. Possessive adjectives are adjectives to denote that something has something. In English, possessive adjectives can be formed by e, wind, windy, has wind. In Mari, we have the extremely productive suffix an, which can be attached to all kinds of nouns, and not just nouns, but whole nominal phrases. We've looked at this one before. So you could also have like 5 sick children, and then have the an, and then be like the father of 5 sick children would be the 5 sick children man, or so. Yeah, then in addition to this highly productive an, we have this le, lo, le one that was borrowed from Turkic. You can find this in all kinds of Turkic languages, where, it's in Turkic, it is pretty much equivalent to an, and in Mari, it is used just in some, for some specific cases, like tam taste, tamle tasty, chair disease, chairle sick, etc. And even though it is being used by neologists in the creation of neologisms, I would not in everyday life classify this one as productive, so it's good for you to recognize it, but you don't need to learn to actively use this one. Relational adjectives are adjectives that express a relation, as the name says, with a time or a place. So the big one we had here was c'est so ce, sometimes with a linking vowel before it, which just is used to create adjectives tying you to a time or place. So Oleg is a meadow, Olekaso is meadow, like meadow berries, meadow trees, whatever there might be in the meadow, something that is in the meadow. Ver, place, ver se local, etc. Tace today, tace today's. We've also seen this one before. Less productive is ash, which you can connect to some nouns and some, like in some cases you can use this. I've just learned the individual cases, like kedal, middle, kedalash, middle, like middle school would be kedalash skol. Tilze, moon, tilzash, monthly, like a monthly payment or something like that. Or Yash is a very important one. We've had that in, like, I think in the first chapter, we had Tudman Yash, how old is she, he, they? It's, yeah, year plus yeary, kind of. And it's also used in combination with month names. Privative adjectives denote the absence of something. So this is like English less. And here we've had dume. Same ending as the negative participle. It's the same. If you take this ending, you attach it to a verbal stem, it's a negative participle. If you attach it to a nominal stem, it's a form for privative adjectives. Your child, your childame, childless. So this one is semantically very straightforward and highly productive. And yeah, you can liken it to English less pretty much always. Sometimes you would also say it was free, like snow free or sugar free. Yeah. Purposive adjectives, adjectives denoting what something is for. Here we have our old friend look again, which we already had in several cases when looking at nominal derivation. So that is attached to nominal stems uncommonly, but productively. If that sounds like a bit of a contradiction, well, it is not used a whole lot when compared, for example, with an or c'est so ce, but it can be attached to any nominal stem, and Mari speakers will not protest. Yeah, and that is used to create adjectives saying what something's for. If we have korne, the way, the journey, kornelik would be for a way, for a journey, like kornelik oksa, money for a trip or something like that. Tiyin lik, meant for you, erla lik, intended for tomorrow. Yeah, what something is there for. Approximative adjectives are adjectives derived from other adjectives, meaning a bit something. And here we have the formant alge. This is, you can use it basically with all color terms, but also a small set of other adjectives. So if we have sheme, black, shemalge, blackish, kande, blue, kandalge, blue, etc. But you can also have, for example, leve, warm, levalge, lukewarm. Yeah, I think that one's fairly straightforward. So it's like with colors, it's like English-ish. Well, which you could in English also use if you want more productively than that. Bitterish works, warm-ish would also work. Okay, words and words usage. What have we got? Well, we're having a look at gai, a postposition in Mari, which is, we translate it as like, but even though it is it is clearly postpositional in the sense that it obligatorily has to follow a noun phrase to be used. It is somewhat flexible as regards its part of speech in that the whole phrase formed with gai can be used in various different syntactic positions. This is why if you look this up in the dictionary, we will look a bit indecisive with our part of speech classification. We're saying it's a postposition, but then we're also saying that it is a noun, and we're also saying it's an adjective. Well, what's up with that? Well, let's have a quick look what phrases with gai can modify. They can modify verbs, and then they're used quite adverbially, like the phrase as a whole is being used adverbially. Like if I say avat gai koyat, you look like your mother. Sorry, there's a mistake in the slides. I have to fix that. Or if I say Madonna gai muret, you sing like Madonna. Yeah, that is then yeah, the whole phrase is being used as an adverb. The whole phrase can also modify adjectives, in which case we have a counterpart to English constructions with as a like Maskagai Vian, strong as a bear, Bill Gates Poyan, rich as Bill Gates. And here we have Migayem Ushan, as clever as me. So here you see we can also attach possessive suffixes to this if it is attached to a personal pronoun. So we can also modify nouns with gai phrases, which then makes the whole phrase adjectival. Like Tuden kande kavagai shinchashe. They have eyes. What kind of eyes? Eyes blue as the sky. And Echangai revese vlak. Young men like Echan. So yeah, Alamogai pirisgai, like some kind of cat. Yeah. And the whole phrase can also be used as a noun with, like, we can take as like in conversion from adjectives to nouns is very productive in Mari anyway. You can use an adjective or phrase as a noun with any problems. And the same is the case with gai phrases. You can take a gai phrase and just use it as a noun. So we can have like Tuyen gai can be like you, but then we can also use this to mean somebody like you, like mi lachak Tuyen gaiam munem. I want to find somebody exactly like you, one that is exactly like you. Sergei Gai would mean like Sergei, but it can also be one that is like Sergei. One must take pride in people like Sergei, the Sergei likes, so to say. Okay, then we have shoktash, a quick look at this. This is a verb meaning to be heard or to play a musical instrument. It has, so this is to say that as regards transitivity, it can be on both sides. It can be a sound that brings out, shoktash, and you playing a fiddle, shoktash. And there is what one has to be careful with here is there's no conjugation class difference. Also, the intransitive usage uses the second conjugation, even though in some cases we had these duality, this relationship that we had intransitive verbs in the first conjugation and transitive verbs in the second conjugation look the same in the infinitive. This is not one of these cases, importantly. Auxiliary constructions. First, we're going to have a look at two modifiers that fall into a system that is slowly crystallizing here. And one is Schogalasch, to stand up, or like in German, this would be sich hinstellen. Maybe it is like to go to stand somewhere, to take up a standing position. And this is like if you go and stand by a tree, like the act of going there. So it's a telic act. It is intransitive and it's transformative. You are going somewhere and you're changing your condition through it. And the pairings using this this auxiliary, or this verb as an auxiliary, they all have this perfective aspect of it. Like Rosage Mugai Motoren Pelet Shugalen, oh how nicely the roses have blossomed. So Peledash, to blossom, would be less transformative, less telic, but Peled Shogalash or Peled and Shogalash, both would work, would mean to blossom up, like it is, we are going through a change of status from not blossoming to blossoming. And if this looks a bit like what I said last time around about sitting down used in auxiliary constructions, yes, we're going to look at the relationship in a moment. Likewise, kiash, kiem, to lie, the status of lying, to be in a lying position, like you are in bed, not moving. This is used stronger in some varieties of Mari than in others. It is used to denote long-lasting imperfective activity, like Poshkudenavlak ertag vusedel kiat, like our neighbors are constantly, literally arguing, lying. So I mentioned that there's some dialect or distribution here in the usage of this. In some dialects of Mari, this is not really used as an auxiliary. So speakers of those varieties of Mari might hear this sentence and conceptualize your neighbors really lying down and arguing as they are lying there. Yeah. So, and if this again looks a bit like to sit was used in auxiliary constructions, what we saw last week, yes. And we're gonna have another look at that soon. Oh, I lied, it's not 2, it's 3 verbs that fall into this, this system that is slowly crystallizing, because we also still have vosage, vosam, to lie down, which is basically you go into the lying position. And this is also, again, a transformative, intransitive transformative process. So the system that is crystallizing here is, we can distinguish 3 different positions: a standing position, a lying position, and a sitting position. And for each of these positions, we have a triplet of verbs, one denoting the status of being in a position, one denoting an intransitive movement into the position, and one denoting the transitive movement of putting something in a position. So it's like with it's like to sit, the last row would be to sit down, and to put or to place something in a sitting position. And the verbs that we had shogash, shogem, shogala, shogalam, shogaltash, shogaltem for the standing position. And we had these 3 for the lying position, these 3 for the sitting position. All of these are used as auxiliaries in auxiliary constructions. What do they mean? What sets them apart from one another? Well, it's fairly straightforward with the columns. It's fairly straightforward to say what they do. Being in a position, this is always an intransitive, sorry, not intransitive, yes, intransitive, non-telic, static, long-lasting, imperfective action, something that is going on for a long time. Then going into a position, this is always a transformation intransitively, like you are the flowers that are blossoming or whatnot. You change your status in the process of this action. And putting into a position is transformative, but now it is transitive, putting something in a position. So the columns are easy to distinguish, the rows are hard. What is the difference between the verbs pertaining to the standing, lying, and sitting position? Well, in some cases, it is just phraseologisms that you have to learn, like falling in love is yaraten shindash, sitting place with loving place, which just uses the sitting position, and why it's a sitting position, not the lying position or the standing position, is from the perspective of a modern language learner completely arbitrary. You just have to learn it like that. But if we look at cases where we don't have like a set phraseologism like that, where there is some perspective variation, what determines the choice is something that Klaus Schönig in his work on Tatar called the verbs lexicon, meaning breaking through, that we still have sort of a remnant of the original lexical meaning persisting in a way. So if you're saying like, I'm sitting around waiting, it's like primarily you are saying that you are waiting for a long time period, but as you're sort of implying that if you are in any position while waiting, you are sitting around waiting, as you'd say in English, not standing around waiting, not lying around waiting. So, which is to say, don't sweat it too much about the difference between the 3 here on the spectral side of things. There is not really a strong one there. It's more on the still like remnants of the original lexical meaning that stay there. So the last, oops, my numbering is wrong. This should be D. Yeah, I'm going to update these slides before I upload them to the website. The last one modifier we have doesn't fall into this category. That is temash, temam, to fill up, to become full. And this is used like when the moon becomes full or whatnot. This is used to express that an action is carried out up to the level of satiation, like eating one's fill, sleeping one's fill, sleeping as much as one wants to sleep, eating as much as one can eat. playing until you are done playing, until you no longer want to play anymore. Yeah, so it's fairly specific and straightforward in that sense. Last point in word and words usage that we have is that we are looking at some musical instruments, and sorry about that. I thought that I have the whistle that is on the picture here somewhere standing around me, but I can't find it right now. These are some essential Mari musical instruments, or like some of them that are from Mari folk tradition, some of them that are more of a regional phenomenon like the accordion. And we always have here triplets of the musical instrument, the person playing the musical instrument, and the verbal expression of playing this instrument. The text in this chapter pertains to Mari music. And the little YouTube clip we have this week no, it doesn't pertain to anything. It is a song. It's the song Oi Lui Modesh, Oh, the Martin Plays. If you can read musical notations, you can play an instrument. Here you've got the melody, but you also have a YouTube clip of it being sung. And this is one of the classics of Mari folk music. It's one that is worth knowing. So that concludes chapter 33, and I'll see you in the next one.